everybody, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome if you are new here. My name is Andrea.M. if you've not been here before, and on today's Oz Files we are truly going to explore whether or not the truth is out back. So grab yourself a coffee or a tea or a cold drink, maybe a snack. And with the eerie phenomena of UFOs spotted over Australia and the possible extraterrestrial abduction of Australian airman 20-year-old Fredrick Valentich. But before we explore today's Oz Files, I would like to remind you guys to abduct the like button, leave the subscribe button out in the bush during drop bear season, and ring the bell at midnight to summon the bears. And spam your mates by sharing and start a conversation about today's video in the comments below. I'd absolutely love to hear about any theories that you have about today's video, or even if you have a suggestion of future videos you may like me to cover. That being said, let's board the mothership and probe into today's story. But before we get into that, I also have some exciting news about Charlie Danvers, my haunted clown. Charlie has actually gone to the USA on an exchange program, and he is currently studying haunting the living at the Clown Hotel in Tonopah, Nevada, and he will be returning soon within a couple of weeks. But I have a surprise for you guys. I have an exchange student, and here he is. It's Oogie Boogie. So I have Mr. Oogie Boogie staying with us right now, and he has finished his certificate in haunting the living. And he is learning how to be a good boy because, as we all know, he wanted to abduct Santa Claus and do dreadful things to him. So they have sent him to me to be straightened out a little bit. So he is going to be joining me on the Oz Files until Charlie returns. And for those of you who were telling me Mr. Charlie was freaking you out, this should be good news for you. However, now you have Oogie for your viewing pleasure instead. So he's going to be joining me for the next few weeks while Charlie is furthering his education as a haunted clown in Tonopah. Alright, without further ado, let's dive into today's Oz File. And also you may see this lava lamp behind me. We are trying to grow an alien in that just at the moment. So if it changes and does weird things, that's kind of normal for a lava lamp to do, but they always seem to look like they have aliens inside them when I first switch them on, and I just thought that'd be kind of cool for the video as well. So if you see any strange things happening back here with the lava lamp, please let me know as well, because I'd love to hear what you have to say. Okay, let's stop mucking around and get into today's video. Reports of UFOs have been made in Australia for many years in many different locations, the earliest dating back to pre-1900. And that's like really, really early. I was surprised to hear this. So in 1868, an alderman in Parramatta, New South Wales, named Fredrick Birmingham, spotted what he described as an arc more appropriate for traversing water, floating in the sky before landing in Parramatta Park. On the 22nd of January 1954, 3 people in Gawler, South Australia, also spotted a white UFO flying overhead, which was shortly followed by an RAAF jet, and that's the Royal Australian Air Force. Into the 1960s, on the 19th of January 1966, a farmer from Tully, Queensland, reported seeing a large saucer-shaped object as well as a so-called nest of reeds in the swamp where the UFO was spotted. So I'm not sure what the nest of reeds, the significance of that is. Maybe the UFO was under the water and they were using the reeds to hide themselves. Who knows? On the 6th of April, also in 1966, many students and some staff at Westall High School in Clayton, South Victoria, said they saw a UFO fly over their school and then descend into a paddock. Which brings us up to today's story in question, the 1970s, and the Valentich disappearance, which occurred on the 21st of October 1978 when 20-year-old Fredrick Valentich disappeared while piloting a small Cessna 182 aircraft over Bass Strait to King Island, Tasmania. And Valentich was also described as a flying saucer enthusiast. Valentich informed Melbourne Air Traffic Control that he was being accompanied by an unknown craft It was soon after this Valentich would seemingly go missing. So a little bit about our missing pilot in question. So Fredrick Valentich was born on the 9th of June 1958 and he disappeared on the 21st of October 1978. He had about 150 total hours flying time and held a Class 4 instrument rating, which authorised him to fly at night, but only in visual meteorological conditions, which I would assume this would mean a clear night, no clouds, but that's probably what that means. He had also twice applied to enlist in the Royal Australian Air Force, but was rejected because of inadequate educational qualifications. He was a member of the RAAF Air Training Corps, determined to have a career in aviation. Valentich was studying part-time to become a commercial pilot, but had a poor achievement record, having twice failed all 5 commercial licence examination subjects. And as recently as the month before his disappearance, he had failed 3 more commercial licence subjects. He had been involved in flying incidents, for example, straying into a controlled zone in Sydney, for which he received a warning, and twice deliberately flying into a cloud, for which prosecution was being considered. So I guess flying into clouds is just not allowed in the aviation field. I've never heard of it before, but I guess it is a thing, or it was back then at least. So according to his father, Guido, Valentich was an ardent believer in UFOs and had been worried about being attacked by them. The destination of Valentich's final flight was King Island, but his motivation for the flight is unknown. So that kind of has me thinking, he thinks he's being pursued by UFOs. He's flying into a cloud. Was he being pursued on the day that he actually flew into the cloud? Was he trying to hide from something? So I find that really interesting that he's kind of gotten in trouble for doing things that he shouldn't do. He's strayed into airspace he shouldn't have been in. He's flown into a cloud. That kind of, I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, to me, that sounds like he was being pursued and he was trying to maybe hide or get away from something. And he has this interest in UFOs. So I'm finding this kind of paralleling him being afraid something was chasing him. Maybe that's why he strayed into the airspaces that he shouldn't. And he probably didn't want to tell anyone because, you know, the minute you say, oh, UFO, they think you're crazy. He told flight officials that he was going to King Island to pick up some friends, while he told others that he was going to pick up crayfish. Later investigations found both stated reasons to be untrue. So, was he actually going to look for the said UFOs? Could they have had their own little base in the area? Who knows? Valentich had also failed to inform King Island Airport of his intention to land there, going against the standard procedure. So he keeps going against what he's supposed to be doing. So that says to me he was either looking for something or something was looking for him. So Valentich then radios Melbourne flight service at 7:06 p.m. to report that there was an unidentified aircraft that was following him at 4,500 feet, which is about 1,400 metres. He was told there was no known traffic at that level. Valentich said he could see a large unknown aircraft which appeared to be illuminated by 4 bright landing lights. He wasn't able to confirm its type, but said it had passed about 1,000 feet, 300 metres, overhead, and was moving at a very high speed. Valentich then reported that the aircraft was approaching him from the east and said the other pilot might be purposely toying with him. Valentich said that the aircraft was orbiting above him and that it had a shiny metal surface with a green light on it. Valentich further reported that he was experiencing engine problems. Asked to identify the aircraft, Valentich radioed back, "It's not an aircraft." His transmission was then interrupted by an unidentified noise, described as metallic scraping sounds, before all contact was lost. A sea and air search was undertaken that included ocean-going ship traffic, an RAAF Lockheed P-3 Orion aircraft, plus 8 civilian aircraft. The search encompassed over 1,000 square miles, which is about 2,600 square kilometres. Search efforts ceased on the 25th of October 1978 without result. And to this day, I'm pretty sure that Fredrick Valentich and his aircraft have never been found. An investigation into Valentich's disappearance by the Australian Department of Transport was unable to determine the cause, but it was presumed fatal for Valentich. 5 years after Valentich's aircraft went missing, an engine cowl flap was found washed ashore on Flinders Island. In July 1983, the Bureau of Air Safety Investigation asked the Royal Australian Navy Research Laboratory, RANRL, about the likelihood that the cowl flap might have travelled to its ultimate position from the region where the aircraft disappeared. The Bureau noted that the part had been identified as having come from a Cessna 182 aircraft between a certain range of serial numbers, which included Valentich's aircraft. It has been proposed that Valentich staged his own disappearance, even taking into account a trip of between 30 and 45 minutes to Cape Otway. The single-engine Cessna 182 still had enough fuel to fly a further 800 kilometres, which is about 500 miles. And despite ideal conditions, at no time was the aircraft plotted on the radar, casting doubts as to whether it was ever near Cape Otway at all. And Melbourne police received reports of a light aircraft making a mysterious landing not far from Cape Otway at the same time as Valentich's disappearance, but we've never had it confirmed as to whether it was him or his plane. Could just be a coincidence. Another proposed explanation is that Valentich became disoriented and was flying upside down. And if this were the case, the lights he thought he saw would be his own aircraft's lights reflecting in the water. He could have then crashed into the water. However, the model Cessna he was piloting could not have flown inverted for as long as it has a gravity feed fuel system. So what this means is its engine would have cut out very quickly, and yet another possibility is that he may have fatally committed self-harm with the airplane. However, interviews with doctors and colleagues who knew him very, very well eliminated this possibility. In 2013, a review of the radio transcripts and other data by astronomer and retired United States Air Force pilot James McGaha and author Joe Nickell proposes that the inexperienced Valentich was deceived by the illusion of a tilted horizon, for which he attempted to compensate and inadvertently put his aircraft into a downward so-called graveyard spiral or death spiral, which he initially mistook for simple orbiting of the aircraft. According to the authors, the G-forces of a tightening spiral would decrease fuel flow, resulting in rough idling, and that was reported by Valentich that his plane was in fact idling rough. McGaha and Nickell also proposed that the apparently stationary overhead lights that Valentich reported were probably the planets Venus, Mars and Mercury, along with the bright star Antares, which would have behaved in a way consistent with Valentich's description. UFOologists have also speculated that extraterrestrials either destroyed Valentich's aircraft or abducted him, asserting that some individuals reported seeing an erratically moving green light in the sky, and that he was in a steep dive at the time. UFOlogists believe these accounts are significant because of the green light mentioned in Valentich's radio transmissions. The group Ground Saucer Watch, based in Phoenix, Arizona, the United States, claims that photos taken by plumber Roy Manifold on the day of Valentich's disappearance show a fast-moving object exiting the water near Cape Otway Lighthouse. According to UFO writer Jerome Clark, Ground Saucer Watch argued that they showed a bona fide unknown flying object of moderate dimensions, apparently surrounded by a cloud-like vapour exhaust residue. although the pictures were not clear enough to identify the object. And that pretty much brings us to the end of today's story. So pretty much Fredrick Valentich has disappeared without a trace. There's only one small part of what may have been his aircraft found. And these ufologists have found evidence that there was another craft around the area when Fredrick went missing. And as I said, that pretty much brings us to the end of the story. It is a little anticlimactic, I know, but I have looked and I couldn't find anything else on Fredrick Valentich. So, what do you guys think? Did Fred become disoriented from flying upside down? Or was he being pursued by an alien aircraft who ultimately caused the young airman to disappear? Drop your thoughts and theories in the comments section below. And Oog would like to know, are there any strange Aussie stories or phenomenon that you would like us to cover in a future video? And he would really love it if you guys could drop your suggestions in the comment box below. We'd love to hear from you and just find out what interests you. What would you like to see us cover? And we would also like to thank you all again so much for watching. Oogie's very excited to be here. He has a big smile on his face. So thank you all again, everybody. I hope you enjoyed today's Oz Files, and Oogie and I will see you back here very soon. Stay safe, everybody, and from Oogie and I, sleep tight. See you all again soon. Bye.